hope you get out of this that we haven't solved world hunger at New Flyer. We haven't changed fundamentally or created anything. At the end of the day, what we're trying to do is implement and deploy fundamental lean practices. And so today, my discussion really is about the cultural side of it and the work environment side, not necessarily the sales and the lean type things. But we clearly have stolen everything possible. So thanks to those at Standard Aero for lots of ideas, but also tremendous opportunities here in Manitoba to benchmark and learn from other companies and elsewhere in Canada. So I won't go through this very busy slide, but those of you that don't know our company, many here in Manitoba do. It's a bus manufacturer, so it's not quite as sexy as some other businesses. Neat story, Manitoba started by some entrepreneurs in 1930, about 32,500 buses now delivered. One out of every 4 transit buses in North America was made by New Flyer, either here in Manitoba or in Minnesota. And kind of the neat story of the strategy of the company is to try and have the best bus, but also have propulsion agnostic. And so whether you want a diesel engine or a hydrogen fuel cell or now battery buses or a hybrid and so forth, we can adapt and fit the bus any way you want. It's a Winnipeg story, which is kind of neat, and one of the complexities we have, which some of you may deal with, is Buy American compliance. And so we basically have duplicate overhead and duplicate infrastructure on both sides of the border to allow us to sell in Canada and the United States. So a very costly proposition. When we embraced this concept of lean, we were starting later than some others, but we were candid with our employees on all sides of the border. At the end of the day, it's going to be a bumpy ride, but we're going down a different path. So the first thing we did is we took very seriously this concept of core values. And so we tried to work as a squad with a lot of people to write down these words. And there's not rocket science, but at the end of the day, we worked really hard to try and say, what does fair mean at New Flyer? What does decisive mean? What does dependability mean? And so forth. And now we're plastering this all over the facility, and we're doing training sessions to try and say, to you, what does dependability mean at New Flyer? And so on and so forth. Try and get some buy-in. So the second thing we did is then we said, you know what, if the last 10 years or 9 years has been about financial engineering, we need to reset the balance. And it's not a perfect world, but it's a simple little thing that we created. And I started probably about 10 years ago trying to say, every time we make a decision, let's see if we can balance what it means for the employee, the customer, and the shareholder. Because at the end of the day, we got to have those things working. We got to have happy, trained, engaged people who build a great product. We got to have customers that are going to pay us and want more buses. And at the end of the day, we got to have shareholders that get return or they won't invest in us. And so from the outset, we were working really hard. We continue to work on tone at the top. And it's one thing to stand up and make presentations and talk, but it's clearly, as you all know, about tone of the top and walk the walk and those kind of things. And so we wanted to make it not an ops issue or an HR issue, culture. This is ours. We tried to poke fun a little bit at the concept of DNA. So if you're walking a New Flyer plant or if you see a New Flyer person, what are the things that are important to them? And so we really worked hard to try and pare it down to 4 things. One is it has to be, it may not be now, it may not be next year, but it has to be a great place to work. We want people to want to bust down the door to find a way to get in there. And I think we've come a long way. We still have work to do. Operational excellence, like many businesses, is not a strategy. It's a ticket to play. We have to find a way to be lean and mean and cost effective and so forth, especially when your dollar is close to parity, when most of our customers in the United States. The customer relationship has to change, and so does the supplier partnerships. Like many of your businesses, we took the cell leaders, or what was the supervisors, from those air-conditioned little towers that are in our plant, blew them all away, and moved them all to the shop floor. Now, that isn't the easiest way to recruit a graduate engineer to go say that that's your office, right beside the welding sparks. But at the end of the day, the culture has to change from, guess what, we work for the workers who build the bus, they don't work for us. And so we fundamentally believe you've got to coach from the shop floor, from the game. You can't coach from the press box. At the end of the day, it's so bloody simple. Again, that's why we didn't invent it. It's a freaking dentist office, right? You got the people. They're trained. They know what the hell they're doing. You've got the tools right physically there. You got the spare parts within reach. You got lighting appropriate for the job. You got documentation. And it's a clean place. How hard is this? And I don't care whether you're fixing a dirty, broken motor from Northwest Airlines or whether you're building a bus or any other thing, right? The environment is so critical to success, and at the end of the day, we're sitting there waiting for some of these people to do something, and we try to take it so that the buck stops here. Now, here's another one that we stole from another local company. Really, this is Mark Chipman and the whole McGill-Stevenson world. They use community need as a way to rally their people. It's not about building a better bus. It's not about you getting more benefits. They rally their teams to do something for somebody else. And we had this kind of as a subversive thing in our company, and now it is front and center. And so whether it's dragon boat races or whether it's United Way and stuff, we're using those things as a non-threatening way to get people in the game, have fun, be part of it, get to know your neighbor, go out for a Slurpee or a beer after, whatever, but have some fun with the process. Another thing that we've tried to do is get leadership to think about building as a squad. And so we started our own leadership camps 2009 when I just got there. And what we did is we tried to have a theme each year. And so just to kind of tell you the thoughts about it. My frustration with the silos pushed us in the first year to say, you know what, it starts with us. It starts with me. I got to buy in. The second year, the whole theme was about working together, this concept of gears. Any one of us can't be successful unless we're all working together. And then last year, or the year before, sorry, it was a matter of trust. Trust me, you have to trust your suppliers inside the business or your partners or your service guys and so forth. And then this past year, we're starting to get really action-focused. Time to make it happen. So it's been a lot of fun to get people together. We've had some great speakers from the Winnipeg community, like this types of environment, volunteer their time, and come and speak. Now, so to try and get people serious about what we're doing, so I can talk all I want, but we got to get the entire team talking about communicating. So we built our own communication framework. We're now on version 3. It's a little bit of a creed that our ELT signs and said, yep, I'm going to live to it. Stand-up meetings and breakfast meetings and round tables and using our intranet and so forth. And so we're really working hard at trying to communicate. What really hit us, though, is different people need communication in different ways. Some of our guys will say, I told them that. Well, some people in your group like verbal presentations. Some of them like to read on the internet. Some of them like written. Some of them like small group meetings and so forth. And so it's really hit us on the head that we have to communicate 5 different ways every single time. So then we got into this discussion and debate about suggestion boxes. And I hate a suggestion box because it's anonymous. It's mostly rock throwing. There's no suggestion. There's no help. There's no willingness to help. It's just a rock. But our guys talked us into this concept of saying, now, if people are going to this intranet site, how about a concept of allow for a visual but efficient suggestion board or question board? And so we called it Express Line, which just happens to be the completion area that we call in our business. And so it's some version of an electronic suggestion box. But just to show the power of it, we started it literally a month and a half ago, and already we've got 277. So clearly there was a need for people to be able to say, what about? Now, sorry you can't see the line very much, but when you want to talk about math and you want to talk about the economic return, it is freaking staggering. This is 2005 to 2007. You see our turnover of voluntary has gone from like 70% to less than 5%, and our grievances has gone down to less than 80%. And so the amount of time spent with grievances and so forth, fighting over useless, stupid things, has gone away. Now we're talking about real legitimate issues. And it's really gratifying that they're constructive and positive. And by the way, people show up for work. Minor detail. Here's the other big one. Honestly, the real money is in labor productivity efficiency, but also safety. I joked before that that New Flyer was the poster child for Worker Compensation Board and the bad case in Manitoba. But you look at our WCB rate, our OSHA rate, and our lost time rate over the last 10 years, our total dollars spent on worker compensation, premiums and insurance and so forth has gone down 85%. Our payroll is like $70 million, right? So it's a big, big, big number. Straight money to the bottom line. And hopefully we've got a happy and safe workforce. And that's really, really been gratifying. The other side of this is the working capital. And we all hear it all day long, I'm sure, from our bosses. I hear it from my board all day. I can remember hammering this into my head every day. Cash is king. We've taken our work in process down from roughly 400 buses to less than 200. And in our world, 300 grand a bus of work in process, that's $60 million of cash I no longer need to run our business. You want to talk about payback on trying to fundamentally invest in your business. Which is why I have no idea when people say to me, you're trying down the lean journey, and other people say, no, I don't. I have no idea why you wouldn't want to do this for an efficiency, safety, buy-in, quality of work, and so forth in your businesses. You know, when you think about it, 70-75% of what we put on our buses is exactly the same suppliers that our competitors use, the same bloody wheels, the same seats, the same engine, the same crazy windows, on and on and on. At the end of the day, all I really have is our people to do it faster, cheaper, better, have great service, have people answering the phone excited to have when somebody's got a problem, nailing it, and so forth. And I got to believe that's the issue with many businesses, that it doesn't matter what your product is and what your IP is and so forth. Everything's on the bloody internet anyway. It's all about the people. And so, right, wrong, or indifferent, we as a company, we're really, really trying to get buy-in. It's probably going to take 10 or 15 years to get a generation of workers to say, this is a different place. But we're 3 years into the journey, and I'll tell you, it feels a hell of a lot better than it did a couple years ago.